Ladies and gentlemen, I got some bad news. Tinder is adding a height filter. Yes, as if things weren't hard enough and top heavy for men in general. Tinder is now getting a height filter which can have women or men exclude people based on their height.
Alright, boys and girls, so new drama just dropped surrounding this dating app by the name of Tinder. I'm sure we're all familiar with it by now. Surrounding their new update, though, specifically regarding height preferences. And apparently, according to this headline by Dexerto, they say Tinder is testing out a feature that will let users add preferences for their heights, or specifically to clarify, preference.
The thing with like a actual filter that's inbuilt into the app that allows people to select for heights is that it's a level beyond just having like whatever your height is in your bio or getting to the point where someone's matched with you and then you tell their heights. Like this is like an extra layer of like pre-selection that's already on dating apps. So I mean we all know what's going to happen, right? Like this is going to make it even more competitive for men on online dating apps and specifically on Tinder.
This is for the heights of people that they're swiping left or right on. And we all already know where that's gonna head. I mean, if you're still using Tinder in 2025, you're already cooked. But this is the death nail for a large majority.
Well, you're not cooked if you're Chad. Like, if you are noticeably better looking than the average, then you can actually have a great time on dating apps. It's just that you know the general user experience for men is very poor on a dating app, but for guys that are now very tall, things are going to get better, but again it's very top heavy for men.
Majority of the male population, let's be honest here. Tinder, we all already know what it's used for. Initially, it was for dating and finding love, supposedly in the marketing, right? I may be wrong. But now, in the current year, in fact, for the last 5, obviously it's been one of the most superficial, shallow, toxic, and disgusting marketplaces for dating on the entire internet. It's basically like pulling up to a Build-A-Bear workshop, trying to find that perfect.
I think like an important distinction is that dating apps didn't really like create this shallowness. It didn't create it. All it did was just amplify what people were already thinking, right? Like it just kind of like added fuel to the fire. Like society's always been shallow and very like looks based, but dating apps just took it up a notch and just made it way easier to be shallow. It's always been a hookup app. I mean, yeah, I feel like in the early days of like dating apps when like the internet was in its like primordial era um before Instagram and TikTok and all of that, there were like these like dating apps that kind of like they were trying to like make it more personality based where like you would like write this huge essay about who you are and what you want to do and blah blah blah. Like I can't remember the names of them. eHarmony, I think, was one of the names where it was like more where people like they would like write a novel about themselves, and then like the swipe card gamification of dating apps. I think Tinder was like they were like the first one to start that, and it became so like successful and like widespread across the market that eHarmony just got mogged into oblivion. Um, and that became like the meta for dating websites. They figured out like people don't want to read like a novel, like they just want to find someone hot. That's it.
Person of which you want to potentially pursue online and meet up in the real world eventually. But as you can imagine, a lot of people are highly upset about this. You know, some people are saying add weight preferences too while we're at it. Not gonna lie.
Well, you see, you can't do that because that would annoy the women that are festively plump, and they would not appreciate that. But height, even though that's way more outside of a person's control than weight, uh, apparently you don't need to worry about offending people on that. Another thing about like the weird double standards. Have you ever like wondered that you, you why they don't have like a race filter? Because people will say, oh well, that's discriminatory and like people don't choose their race and it's not nice to like deny or include people only because of their race. But you could apply that same principle that that person has just said to height. Because once your growth plates are fused, like it's over. Like that is your height for the rest of your life. Technically, you can get limb lengthening, but functionally, you can't change your height. It is like outside of your control as your race, and yet you're allowed to like discriminate people based on their height, but not their race. It doesn't make sense to me. Either like have all the filters and just let people like do whatever the hell they want, or just not have the height filter. Like, I think that's logically consistent.
Lie, that's kind of messed up because people can't control their height. You're actually a cunt if you don't date people for their height. Effing bitches. Shout out.
Well, this is cope. Like, people will always discriminate people based on characteristics that is outside of their control. The only reason why I think height is like dominating the conversation as like this contentious issue is that it's a lot easier to quantify. Like, obviously, height is super important for a man, but I feel like it's kind of overrated compared to like other physical characteristics. Like, and I think like the reason why height is like people like talk about it so much is because it's very easy to understand when a guy is taller or shorter. But it's a lot like it's harder to like pinpoint what makes a face look good for like the average normie, right? But things like how low set your eyebrows are, can full tilt, facial harmony, all of these things are also very much outside of your control aside from surgery, but they drastically determine how attractive you are to the opposite sex. But like the reason why this hasn't really been like picked up in like the public zeitgeist is because it's kind of complicated, it's kind of weird, and you need to do research to even understand what a canthal tilt is or what facial harmony is. So, all of these things aren't really like spoken about much. But height is the thing everybody understands. Everybody can see, oh, that guy's taller. It's very simple to understand, but it's not just height. There's loads of other physical characteristics that are also going to have people discriminate or include you based on having them or not having them.
Out my wife for being the best. Shout out to his wife. Sorry, short kings, you're cooked. Somebody said next they gonna have the inch preferences, crying emoji face.
Well, that's not in the Overton window. They would not do that. But in terms of like the spirit of it, it's basically the same as having that filter. It's really not much different.
Somebody said a lot of nigga words ain't gonna tell the truth. And for this other,
That's absolutely correct. I think it's obvious that this is going to increase the average height on dating apps. Like when this update becomes like just part of the default experience for most people. If you like, it's already kind of the meta for like guys to like add an inch or two to their heights, and I think there was like a stat which showed the average. There was like a bell curve of like heights for men, and yet it just mysteriously spiked up at like 6 foot, which was not in line with the other heights. And you know what's happening there? Every guy that was like 5'10" or 5'11" just added like an inch or two to get to that 6 foot threshold. I guarantee you, this update is just going to like amplify this meta even more so than before. And then you have to like wonder like, what if you are 6 foot and now you're lumped in with all of these guys frauding 6 foot? Is it not logical to also fraud and say you're 6'1" or 6'2"? Now you're getting into like this weird like ethical debates where it's like, if everybody else is cheating, should you cheat too? You know?
the comment, they said, why are Americans so obsessed with heights? And to be honest, clearly they're not from here. I don't know, man. This guy.
Imagine paying for Tinder as a 5'7" dude. Well, the thing is that most customers, like most people that have like the paid options or subscriptions on dating apps are men, are normie men. And the reason is because they want a higher chance of getting matches. So, you know, women don't really aren't really that profitable, like on like face value for a dating app. So I feel like this update is kind of designed to extract more money from women to get more, because as far as I know, the height filter is only available if you pay for like the Tinder Gold subscription, which is like $10 a month or whatever it is. So I feel like this is like a way to like encourage women to get the Tinder Gold subscription, like so they can be a bit more profitable.
Country's just gone to shit within the last decade or so. Everybody has just become increasingly vapid, superficial, materialistic, shallow, surface level, and bot-like.
This size generally scales with height. Yeah, that's a correct observation. You know, height isn't just like height alone. It's also like a proxy for other things. And yeah, like it can mean inches, right?
Not gonna lie, at this point, I really don't even like talking to most people because it's just a standard, predictable couple of lines. Even outside of dating, it's just like, bro, at this point, I'm tired. But guys, just so you know that I'm not exaggerating, this is from TechCrunch.com. Here they have a screenshot of the supposed new update to the Tinder app. By the way, let me preface by saying I don't use Tinder. I haven't used Tinder in probably over 7 years or so. Like, if you're still using Tinder, like I say, in the current year, bro, you have a lot of catching up to do. There's a lot of other ways to get what you want in this world, in this dating market, and
I feel like he's gonna say I'll meet girls in real life, but the flaw that many men make is thinking that once you leave a dating app, then it's
How to become a millionaire. Money is important.
yes, I agree. Thank you for the dono, Nicholas. Many men have this like flaw in their thinking where if they just don't go on a dating app, then they've escaped the influence of dating apps. No, not at all, because every girl that you meet IRL has the option to go on a dating app and have like, hundreds of guys match with her in a day that she can choose from to date. So like every woman has that option. So like just because you left the dating app doesn't mean the rest of the world has left the dating app, and they're still going to be, you know, they still have that option. So I think it's a very short-sighted view to think that, you know, just not being on a dating app or uninstalling it or meeting girls IRL somehow makes you immune to this. No.
Tinder is not the way for most guys. That said, listen, obviously we all know that this is going to mainly affect the male population, aside from the few guys out there who want a girl, a really tall girl or a really short girl or somebody who like meets a specific criteria of height as a woman. But as we all know, for the women on this particular app, they're going to select for much taller men, typically around 5'9", 5'10", and above. Even in other data, sometimes even 5'11" to 6 feet for certain women out there on these particular apps, leaving all the other guys who fall below those height criteria just having no options or getting the type of option.
Well, I feel like there will be like a minority of men that will also use this filter. Maybe if they have like a specific thing for like petite girls, like they want a girl that's like 5'2" or under, they have like a specific thing for that. They might also use it, but realistically, like we know the majority use case is going to be girls filtering guys out that are under 6 foot. And there will be women that will use it specifically to get like some giant guy like that's exceptionally tall. Because like if you're a reasonably attractive girl and you have like hundreds of guys matching with you a day and you just want to filter guys out and you like guys that are like really tall, you can just set it to like 6'3" plus and go from there. And then you'll still get like some matches to choose from, right? Just statistically. So, the use case here definitely, it's for women, practically.
Options that they would never dare swipe on. At that point, they'd probably just uninstall the entire app. But here we can see.
if there was a way to like invest into like surgeons that do limb lengthening surgery, now would be a good time to invest. Like if it was like a stock, I would like buy it for like a long position and like leave it for like the next 5 years, because you know this is going to add fuel to that fire for sure.
In this image here, it says age range, right? So that's normal. We can see that interested in women. And then below that, there's this new feature called Premium Discovery. I believe under Tinder Platinum. I'm not sure if that's paid or not. But they say preferences show you people who match your vibe. Okay. But won't limit.
People, what vibe? What, being 6 foot plus, is that a vibe? Um, I don't know if it's specifically for Tinder Platinum. I think that's like the level beyond gold, or if it's just anybody that buys gold or up can get access to this. And I don't know. But the point being is they're now monetizing the ability to uh, discriminate people on height. Like that's the spirit. Like that's the main point.
Who you see. You'll still be able to match with people outside of your selections. Huh. So it may just be prioritizing people based off.
I think what that means is that once you no longer have like once you've swiped past all of the cards that are like within your filter, they'll start showing you guys that are outside of that filter. I think that's what it means. You know how like if you have the nearest distance to be like within like 10 kilometers, and like let's say you go through all the cards that are within 10 kilometers, it will start showing you cards that are like 15 kilometers, 26 kilometers away. I think that's what it means.
Of your selection, and now that this new added height recommendation or suggestion for the user has been added to the settings, I suppose based on the height you select, the algorithm will then prioritize that specific height, and we already know where those heights will tend to be leaning toward. And yeah, all I gotta say is this is not good at all. This is very bad. Here we have this woman by the name of Sarah Sansani on Next. She says Tinder is adding a height filter so women can filter out men of certain heights. True. Let's be fair then and add a weight filter for men to filter out women.
See, even this like gotcha, you know, this kind of like gotcha line, well, oh, let's add a weight filter. Even that, it doesn't really do it justice, because weight is something well within your control post puberty. So, you know, it's not, you know, even like, even that zinger, like, is still being too kind. It's a level beyond that, because height is your bone structure, and you know, once your growth plates are fused, like it's over. It doesn't. Whereas like weight, you can go on a calorie deficit, use a Zempic now, which makes it even more under your control. So,
Which, in my opinion, seems pretty fair. You know, you can't control your height. Obviously, that's just down to your genetics, your parents, right? Out of your control. So, kind of discriminatory to, you know, be prejudiced against people in a marketplace that's supposed to be fair and equal because of things that they can't quite control. So, if we're going to be doing that, I suppose there should be a weight filter for something that you can control. Very easily. Simple calories in, calories out. Although I know a lot of people out there are addicted to KFC, McDonald's, Popeyes, Wendy's, America's Best Wings. Like, hey man, just put the fork down, bro. Pick up a broccoli or something. And you know, people in the comments like Ava, she's saying absolutely. Somebody said it's only fair. Joshua says sounds fair. Somebody said no makeup filter. Somebody says and has kids feature. And
has kids feature. Oh man. Can you actually? Isn't there already a filter for that? Like, can't you like say? Can't you like set your preferences for someone that doesn't have kids? Like, or am I misremembering it? I think you can do that. Maybe I'm wrong. Body count filter, but women will lie and you can't measure it. Yeah, it's not. That's just never ever going to be a thing. And even if it was, it's just, of course, it's going to be lied about. And the thing with body count is like there's no way to like quantify it for yourself or verify it, but height can be quantified, right? Like if you say you're 6 foot and you know you stand next to a guy that is 6 foot, and you're like, your head comes up to their chin. Well, it's not a mystery as to what's going on there. Someone's lying. Whereas like body counts, like it's unverifiable. So yeah, someone could lie and there'd be literally no way to detect it.
Over on Instagram, where it's a little more savage, people are saying they should add a body count filter too. Somebody said they should also include a weight filter for women. Justice for short kings, they say. And for this last bit of comment here, somebody says I'm cool with that. Y'all gotta talk to girls in real life. Dating apps aren't it to begin.
This is a fallacy. Just because you're not on a dating app doesn't mean you are free from the influence of dating apps. It's just a total fallacy. It's a nice cope. It's a nice cope, but it's still a cope.
And ladies and gentlemen, for my thoughts, because I haven't really chimed in with my opinions yet, all I gotta say is I'm not surprised by this update. I'm not shocked, nor am I caught off guard by this. This is just an escalating degradation of the social marketplace in society. Like, this is definitely going to contribute to the gender war, for the people out there who are going to tell short guys, just toughen up. Who cares? Better luck next time, champ. And then for the guys, already struggling in that department, and then, having this added on top of their suffering.
Well, I think it's quite simply that, discriminating on height is like within the Overton window, but things like weight, race, that's outside of the Overton window. So like they're including it because of that, and also it's a way to extract more money from women. Like it will get more women to buy the Tinder Gold subscription or Platinum or whatever it is. The point being, it's monetized. So they're trying to make more profits from their female users rather than the cash cow, which is just normie men.
Are only going to become more angry and depressed, and that's only going to fuel the hate that they have for the opposite gender. And it's just like, bro, how can anybody fix this when these companies are not only contributing to the destruction of the dating marketplace, but are also trying to profit from it, which in my opinion is not going to be very profitable. As far as I know, based on the data, women don't really spend money on dating apps. It's actually men who spend the most money, like 90.
Yeah, and they're trying to correct it. I mean, what do you mean? Like they're trying to get more money from women by doing shit like this.
Percent of the subscriptions and all that, chasing, trying to get some sloppy top, and I just don't see how this could
But that's crazy, bro. 90% of the money that's made on dating apps, 90% of the profit comes from the male users. Holy shit. Holy shit. That is crazy. And I feel like the use case right now for like a woman to get Tinder Gold is just to like see who liked their profile, because now you can like choose from thousands of guys that liked your profile as a woman, and you could just like pick out like some of the best ones rather than doing the swiping thing. I feel like that's the use case for Tinder Gold for women. But for men, like it's kind of like the reason why men get Tinder Gold is to swipe past like the swipe limit, which I think is like 50 on Tinder or whatever it is, and like to like swipe like 1,000 times a day. That's why men get Tinder Gold.
Possibly favor in bringing in more overall revenue for the app by literally disenfranchising a whole vast majority of users on your platform. You want them to spend money, but you have features that are obviously going to be used to kind of filter them out. It literally makes no sense, but guys, that's just my opinion. So let me know what you think down.
Well, I think the assumption is like they're not really worried about offending men, because this is just like, and like we know what's gonna happen, right? Like loads of guys are gonna go up to 6 foot and have that as like their default setting, and it's going to increase the amount of fraud on dating apps, basically. And like you kind of wonder, like, if you are like, should everybody just also lie about their height and like add like an inch or two, because this is going to become even more the case when this gets totally rolled out across the platform. It's gonna happen. So yeah, it kind of creates like a interesting like ethical discussion where if everybody else is cheating, like shouldn't you cheat as well, just to like preserve yourself? Or should you like stick to like this abstract sense of telling the truth and just never never embellish anything. In a way, it's kind of like CVs for jobs, like job applications. Everybody kind of embellishes a bit on their CV, so like it kind of makes sense for you to fluff it up as well. That's kind of what it's like on with this update. Anyway, this was a good video by Maury. Not bad.